I still don't know what made me knock on her door that night. Maybe the smell of rain on the pavement, or the way the street lights hit the wet leaves. Or maybe it was the text from my friend. If you're still in town, Aunt Lena could use a hand with the boxes in her garage. Lena. His aunt. Mid-40s, maybe older. We'd met once at a barbecue, a handshake that lasted a heartbeat too long. She had a low voice, the kind that makes you lean closer just to hear. Her porch light flickered when I stepped onto it. The house was quiet, except for the sound of a loose shutter tapping in the wind. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the doorbell, and then she opened the door before I even touched it. "You're early," she said. Not a smile exactly, but not unkind either. Yeah? I was already nearby. My voice cracked a little, so I cleared my throat. "Your nephew said you needed help." She moved aside to let me in. The hallway smelled faintly of coffee and paint thinner, like she'd been working on something before I arrived. A small lamp threw soft light across the walls. Her hair was pulled back, but a few strands had slipped free. She wore a plain gray sweater and jeans, but there was something about the way she stood, one hand on the doorframe, the other holding a mug, that felt charged. "You don't have to do this," she said, tilting her head. "I'm used to handling things myself." "It's no problem," I said quickly. "Besides, you helped me once, at that barbecue. You lent me your lighter." That earned a small, quiet laugh from her. She set the mug down, and for a second I thought she might tell me to leave. Instead, she gestured toward the back. "Garage is this way." We walked down a narrow hall lined with framed photos, a young Lena in a leather jacket, a motorcycle helmet tucked under her arm, Lena at some distant beach, hair whipped by the wind. In every picture she looked like she was about to move, never quite still. "You don't know how dangerous I am," she said suddenly, without looking at me. I froze. "Sorry?" She opened the garage door, but her eyes flicked back to me, glinting under the bare bulb overhead. "People think I'm quiet. They don't know what I've done." She said it like a joke, but her mouth tightened on the last word. I tried to laugh, but it came out thin. "Dangerous how? Like power tools?" She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the coffee on her breath. "Maybe you'll find out." My hands went slick against the cardboard box I was holding. It was heavier than it looked. I set it down and wiped my palms on my jeans. She noticed. "You're nervous," she said softly. "I'm not," I said too fast. Her eyes stayed on me, unreadable. For a long moment the garage felt too small, just the two of us, the hum of the fridge in the corner, the rain pattering on the roof. She reached past me to grab a box on the shelf, her sleeve brushing mine. "I'm not going to bite," she murmured. I swallowed hard. "Didn't say you would." The corner of her mouth lifted. "Good." Then, from somewhere deeper in the house, a sharp sound broke the moment, a doorbell ringing once, then twice. Lena's expression shifted. She glanced toward the hall, then back at me. "Stay here," she whispered. And before I could answer, she was already gone. The doorbell echoed through the quiet house again, sharper this time. I stayed in the garage like she told me, palms pressed against my thighs. The rain outside had turned heavier, rattling the tin roof. I could hear muffled voices from the front hall, Lena's low tone, a man's quick reply, but not the words. Then the door shut. Silence again. A few seconds later she came back, brushing damp hair off her forehead. "Sorry," she said, voice flat. "Wrong address." But she didn't look at me. She closed the garage door with a little more force than necessary and leaned against it, arms crossed. I opened my mouth, then closed it. She noticed. "What?" "Nothing. Just, whoever it was you seem, don't," she said quietly. "Please." I nodded, backing off. She exhaled, uncrossed her arms, and went to lift another box. Her hands trembled slightly before she steadied them. I bent to help. You don't have to explain. Her laugh was humorless. Everyone thinks I should explain. She shoved the box toward me. You're his friend. That makes this worse. I froze, box halfway up. Worse how? She blinked at me, startled by her own words. Forget it. I didn't mean. She bit her lip, then shook her head. I've been on my own a long time. That's all. I set the box down slowly. You mean since your divorce? Her eyes flicked up. He told you? No. You didn't wear your ring at the barbecue. I shrugged, embarrassed at how much I'd noticed. Something in her face softened, just a fraction. Clever boy. She said it like a sigh, not a compliment. I wanted to say more but bit my tongue. My head was full of things I couldn't ask, about the man at the door, about why she looked so tired, about why my chest felt tight every time she stood near me. You're too young for this, she said suddenly. Too young for me. I didn't say, you don't have to. She reached for a box on the top shelf, stretching. It's written all over your face. I stepped forward before I thought about it, hands out to steady the box. Our fingers touched, just a brush, but enough. She drew back like she'd touched a live wire. I'm sorry, I murmured. She shook her head, but her voice wavered. Don't be. Just don't. We stood there, the weight of everything unsaid pressing in. The rain drummed harder. Somewhere in the house, the fridge kicked on with a low hum. She turned, started to say something, then stopped. Her hand rose halfway, like she might touch my face, but she lowered it again. Instead she said, almost under her breath, You remind me of someone. Who? She hesitated. Someone I shouldn't have let go. The box between us slid from her grip. I caught it just before it hit the floor. For a second we were both holding it, our hands overlapping. Neither of us moved out. We were still holding the same box when my phone buzzed in my pocket. The sound snapped both of us out of it. I let go first. Lena stepped back fast, brushing her palms on her jeans. You should answer that. It's just my roommate, I said, glancing at the screen. But the text made my stomach twist. Bro, your car's outside Aunt Lena's? Her ex is in town. I shoved the phone back in my pocket. Everything okay? Her eyes flicked toward the window. Depends what you mean by okay. She tried to smile, but it died halfway. The house suddenly felt too quiet. Rain hammering the roof. The faint tick of the wall clock. Lena, don't. She moved past me, picking up another box, though she clearly didn't need it. I shouldn't have asked you here. I keep forgetting how young you are. I'm 23. That's still young. She balanced the box on a shelf without looking at me. You're his friend. You're supposed to be safe. I took a step closer. Safe from what? She turned, eyes sharp. From making my mistakes. Before I could answer, the front door banged open. A voice called down the hall. Lena? You here? A man's voice, rough, familiar to her but not to me. She went pale. Garage. Stay here, she hissed, then wiped her hands on a rag and walked out. I stayed by the shelves, hard hammering, hearing only fragments of conversation, his low growl, her measured replies. Not your house anymore. You can't just, he's just a friend. The word friend landed like a stone in my chest. Footsteps came closer, then stopped. The man muttered something I couldn't catch, and the front door slammed. A minute later she returned, leaning against the doorframe, rubbing her temples. He's gone. Your ex? I asked. She nodded once. He's unpredictable. Shows up whenever he wants. I hesitated. Did he see me? Her mouth tightened. He saw your car. Neither of us moved. The garage light flickered. I should go, I said finally. She took a small step toward me. Maybe you should. But her hands stayed at her sides, fists slowly uncurling. I don't want to. She closed her eyes. Stop. I can't. When she opened them again, they were wet but steady. She reached out as if to push me away, then her fingers brushed my sleeve instead. We both froze. Her voice was barely a whisper. This is wrong. Then tell me to leave. She didn't. Her hand stayed on my arm for one heartbeat, too. Somewhere in the house a floorboard creaked, but no one was there. The sound made us jump apart, breathing hard, a hair's breadth from something we couldn't undo. For the rest of that week I didn't go back to Lena's house. I told myself it was better that way, but every night I found my eyes drifting toward her porch light as I drove past. Sometimes it was off, sometimes it flickered. Once I even parked 2 streets over and just sat in the car until the windows fogged. On Friday evening she texted, "Boxes still in the garage. If you want to finish." Nothing else. No emojis. No signature. I went. When she opened the door, she looked like she hadn't slept. Hair loose, sweater slipping off one shoulder, mug of cold coffee in her hand. You came, she said. You asked? We stood in the narrow hall, either of us moving. The photos on the wall felt like they were watching. I shouldn't have, she murmured. Then why did you? Her eyes flicked up. Because I wanted to see if you'd still come. The air between us thickened. I could smell rain on her clothes. She stepped aside and I followed her into the kitchen instead of the garage. The room was dim except for the yellow glow above the sink. On the counter sat a framed picture of her nephew, my friend, at some old birthday party. She turned it face down with a sharp motion, then gripped the edge of the counter. I saw your car the night he came, she said quietly. You were still outside when my ex left. I swallowed. Yeah. You stayed anyway. I nodded. Why? Because of you. The words almost came out, but I bit them back. Because you seemed scared. She laughed brittle. I'm not scared. I'm angry. Angry that he still shows up. Angry that I notice you when I shouldn't. The confession hung in the air. I notice you too, I said before I could stop myself. Her hands tightened on the counter. Don't say that. It's true. She spun around, eyes shining. You're a boy. He's my family. I'm not a boy. My voice cracked, but I didn't back down. I'm 23. And you're not his mother. We're not hurting anyone. She shook her head, but her breath came quick. You don't know what this would cost me. Then tell me. Silence. The fridge hummed. The rain outside slowed. She stepped closer, until her knees brushed mine. Every time you're here, she whispered, I forget how alone I'm supposed to be. I raised a hand, stopped inches from her face. Lena. Her lips parted. Don't. We stayed there, close enough to feel each other's breath, both trembling, the moment stretching so thin it might snap. Then a car door slammed outside. Headlights swept across the kitchen window. Her ex's voice called her name from the porch. She didn't move. Neither did I. The headlights cut across the kitchen again. Lena stepped back, shoulders tightening. Stay here, she whispered, but her voice cracked. She grabbed a dish towel as if that might make her look like she'd just been cooking. I couldn't stay still. Through the curtains I could see a man on the porch, same leather jacket as before, but now with a duffel bag slung over one shoulder. He was shouting something I couldn't make out. Lena opened the door a crack. You need to leave. He pushed it wider with his foot. Not until you explain this. His voice was low but furious. He lifted his phone. Your nephew just called me. Said some kid's been hanging around here. Said he saw your car at my house. My stomach dropped. Her nephew told him. Lena's face went pale. He's mistaken. No. the man said, stepping inside. He's not. His eyes swept past her, landing on me in the kitchen doorway. So this is him. I wanted to speak, but my mouth was dry. Get out, Lena said sharply, but he ignored her, looking right at me. She does this. Collects strays. Thinks she can fix them. That's enough, she snapped, stepping between us. He sneered. You're just like before, Lena. Only now it's your nephew's friend. Her hands trembled, but her voice stayed steady. Leave. He dropped the duffel at his feet. Fine. But he should know what he's stepping into. He pulled something from the bag, not a weapon, but a stack of papers. Divorce isn't final yet. I still have a key. I blinked. You're still married? Lena closed her eyes, just for a second. It's complicated. The room spun. All the stolen glances, the careful distance, the word dangerous, it all snapped into focus. You didn't tell me, I said quietly. She turned toward me. I tried. That night in the garage, you said you were on your own. I am. He laughed. She'll tell you anything. She told me she was done too, once. Her head snapped toward him. Get out. He hesitated, then tossed the papers on the counter and walked out, door slamming behind him. The sound rattled the glass in the frames on the wall. I stared at the papers but didn't touch them. You're still his wife. Her hands gripped the counter like she might fall. Not in my heart, she whispered. The silence after he left felt heavier than his presence. The rain had stopped. The kitchen smelled like cold coffee and wet asphalt. I don't know what to do, I said. She lifted her eyes to mine, red, tired, defiant. Neither do I. But I can't keep lying. She reached for my hand, hesitated, then let it fall. If you walk away now, she said softly, I won't stop you. I didn't move. The stack of papers between us looked heavier than any box we'd moved in the garage. Lena stared at it, shoulders rising and falling with each breath. I could feel my own pulse in my palms. I should go, I said, but my voice didn't sound like mine. She nodded once. Maybe you should. But she didn't look up. I don't want to. Silence. When she finally met my eyes, there was no guard left, no half-smile. Just exhaustion and something that felt like surrender. You deserve better than this, she said. Better than me. Better than secrets. I don't want better, I said, and it came out rough. I just want you. Her lips trembled. You don't understand what that costs. Then help me understand. She reached for the papers, flipped one over with a trembling finger. I filed months ago. He won't sign. He keeps showing up. It's like living in a room with no doors. I took a step closer. You don't have to go through it alone. Don't say that, she whispered. It's true. I could ruin you, she said, almost laughing but not. Your friend would hate you. People would call me names. You'd lose more than you know. Maybe. But if I walk out now, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering. Her hands went to her face. God, you sound like him. That's how he talked to me when we were young. I stopped, heat rising in my chest. I'm not him. She dropped her hands. I know. Her eyes shone wet. That's what scares me. For a long time neither of us moved. The clock ticked. Outside, a car started and drove away, her ex, maybe. The sound faded, leaving only the hum of the fridge. I'm tired of being afraid, she said finally. Then don't be. She gave a small, cracked laugh. It's not that simple. I reached out slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. My fingers brushed hers. She didn't pull away. I'm here, I said. She looked down at our hands, then back up. I can't promise you anything yet. I'm not asking for a promise. Something in her face broke open. She stepped into me, pressing her forehead to my chest, not a kiss but something heavier. My arms went around her on instinct. We stood like that, the papers still between us on the counter, her hair damp against my shirt. She whispered, "Whatever happens next, you have to choose it with your eyes open." "I already did," I said quietly. She didn't answer, but she didn't step back either. The morning light crept in through the kitchen blinds, thin and pale. I was still at the table, elbows on the wood, watching Lena move around the room. She looked smaller somehow, not in strength but in the way exhaustion sits on a person. Her hair was pulled back loosely, her sweater hung off one shoulder. The divorce papers were gone from the counter. She'd slid them into a drawer before we went to sleep, not together, just under the same roof, too wired to rest. "Coffee?" she asked. Her voice was hoarse from a night of not talking. "Yeah," I said. "Thanks." She poured 2 cups, set one in front of me, then sat across from me. The kitchen smelled like damp earth from the rain outside. "I called my lawyer this morning," she said quietly. "Told him I'm ready to push harder. Restraining order, full filing. No more waiting." I nodded. "Good." She traced the rim of her mug with a finger. "I can't keep living halfway between 2 lives. It's not fair to anyone. I know. I don't want to drag you into the middle of it." "You didn't drag me," I said. I walked in. Her eyes flicked up, surprised at my steadiness. "Why?" I shrugged, feeling heat in my face. "Because I couldn't stop thinking about you. And because you never pretended to be someone you're not." For a long moment she said nothing. Then she reached across the table and touched the back of my hand, not a secretive brush this time, but a steady, open touch. "I don't know what comes next," she said. "Neither do I," I admitted. "But we're both awake now." Her laugh was small but real. Awake. That's one way to put it. We sat there like that, hands touching on the table, the morning growing brighter. Outside, a car passed and children's voices floated from somewhere down the street. Life going on, indifferent to us. "I'll still be your nephew's friend," I said quietly. "I'm not going to hide." "You shouldn't have to," she said. Her thumb moved once across my knuckles. "Maybe it's time I stop hiding too." We didn't kiss. We didn't declare anything. But something between us shifted, no longer a secret, no longer a game. A beginning if we wanted it. She squeezed my hand once, then let go and stood. "Stay for breakfast?" I smiled. "Yeah." We both knew it wouldn't be easy. But for the first time, it didn't feel impossible. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?